Hi, I'm going to give a tutorial on this piece after I play it. I'll put timestamps in the description. Piece is a nice discovery. I'm glad that the RCM is coming up with more pieces by women composers. So there are a lot of different technical challenges in this, and we always want to make sure the music really works. There's a lot of simple ideas that we need to just make sure we have what we call the long line, so we don't just play the notes, but we really see where we're going. But I'll point out some of the technical difficulties first. So in measure 8, we have a shift to second position, and it says rester, which is French for stay, and that implies that we are in second position and then we're second finger. But if you have a larger hand, you might just go 3 and treat that as an extension. It's up to you. And we want to make sure these dotted figures are nice and legato. And if we have trouble with the subdivision, we might want to practice just to feel it. Then we have the bow. The way it's written here in measure 13, so the bow kind of goes opposite. It feels a little weird to be going up, down, up, down. So I find it's often good to realize why things are hard, and there it just feels a little bit awkward. And then we have a lot of string crossings. We need to listen for clarity. So, you know, the first one, so we want to coordinate that shift and the bow change. And then that happens a lot later on, like around 52. So I want to make sure I stop the bow and I get there before I move. Otherwise I hear something like that for all of those. And probably for most people, they're going to have trouble with the double stops at the end, particularly the 5th. So we have, so for that GD, there's different ways to do it. I often find with students who are new to playing fifths, they don't understand that we use the same finger and they try to use 2 different fingers, which we can't do. We have to use the same finger. Now notice where my elbow is, my angle. I pull a little bit just to make it easier for my left hand, just for that moment. We always want to have a lot of freedom here to help our left hand go where it needs to go. So my hand, it's at a weird angle just to make that work. For you, it might be a little more straight on. I'm a little more sideways, but we're not really between the strings. I find I'm usually leaning on one more than the other. In this case, I'm leaning a little more on the A string and it's a little lighter on the D string. You have to see what works for you, as long as you get clarity and it's in tune. And it's often hard to find fifths, you know, just to practice. Fingers, fourth finger is very hard, especially in first position, because they're very far apart depending on how big your finger pad is. And then the chord at the end, we have this lovely G major 4-note chord. We want lots of ring. So make sure that you get low enough in the bow. Don't use too much bow on the bottom part of it. Don't go, but. So to practice it, it's good to put a stop. And then we soften that up. And also there's an extension at 28, so we have. So it is okay to lift that first finger. It's better if you can reach it, if your hand is big enough, then it's a little better for intonation, but it's okay. As long as you leave the third finger down for that and you don't lift everything. And then there are these lovely contrasts. So there's a pretty simple passage here from 38 with a lot of repetition. So you want to make sure you feel the larger gesture. So this is in 4, but we want to make sure the overall feeling, the musical pulse is in a big 2. So yum ba 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 bum, as opposed to bum ba 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 bum ba 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 bum, or even bum ba 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 bum. We have to practice it slowly when we're learning it, so we will have to use some 8th notes. Yum ba 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 bum. That's normal for learning it, but as you get to know it, then you want to feel the pulse bigger. It's going to help you with the music. And finally, the trill. So in this edition, they've written out, it looks, to me that's hard to look at. If you see the footnote at the bottom of the page, they've written out. But it is a good way to break things down if trills are new to you. So when I do it, I lean a little bit on what we call the upper note. So the trill is written on an F sharp, and then the upper note is the upper note of the trill, the G. And with these 6ths, you want to make sure that you're really grabbing the string very evenly, that we don't hear broken. But you want to practice those double stops broken to find the intonation. I have a video called How to Practice Double Stops. Just to isolate that. And finally, I'll just say in terms of tone color, we often use the French word timbre just to mean not just soft and loud, but if you really think of colors in a painting, you know, is it more transparent, is it more dense? So when we have the cantabile, which means singing, at measure 22, I'm very conscious of lifting the arm weight out of the string, trying to get a silkier, more transparent sound so I can travel with my bow. And then at the beginning, I'm thinking of really sinking into the string a little more laser-like, you know, for the forte at the beginning. I hope this tutorial was helpful to learning this piece, and I'll be recording more of these practice tutorials. I have a separate playlist of practice tutorials. This piece will also be in my RCM level 4 playlist and in my student repertoire playlist, because I try to organize all the content on this channel, which is over 1,000 videos at this point and over 50 playlists. So happy practicing.